Okay, today we're going to show you how to butcher a whole strip loin into individual steaks, also known as New York strip. So for a clean finish, I'm going to take the whole fat cap off in one go like this. Don't worry, I'm going to use all this in some burgers, which I will show you. The strip loin comes from the short loin right here in the cow behind the rib area, and it's fairly tender as it's not a working muscle. Plenty flavor, plenty tender. Just run the tip of your knife along, score down, take off that fat cap, set that aside, and just have a look. You'll have a nice clean finish there. Now we're going to trim off any fat and sinew, and also you can see here where the rib bones used to be that were attaching the strip loin. So we're going to put the tip of our knife underneath like this, pull the flap and cut it towards you. So the goal here is we do not want to take away any of that precious meat, so we just want the fat and sinew, so take your time. Once you get good, you can speed up. Now I'll check and see this area right here where I took the fat cap off. I'll also trim that off as well. Do a little inspection. It looks good. I like to kind of rub it down like this. Oh yeah. Then I'll turn it around and I'll check the other side, and there is some little bit of fat here as well. These little kind of fibrous fatty muscle bits are brilliant ground up in the burgers. Now we want to trim this side off of any fat, any cartilage, silver skin. Just run your knife underneath like this and it will cut straight off. You can also push it back like this as well so you can see where you're cutting into. This just stops you from cutting into the meat and only taking away the kind of fat and skin area. Comes off pretty easily just like that. Now you can trim off the little bits of fat like this as well. This will just give you a nice cleaner finish. We've got some silver skin there I can see, so we want to trim that off as well. But first I'm going to square off the strip loin by cutting off a nice piece like this. That is going to be fabulous in a steak sandwich, but I'm actually going to put that into my burger grind. Okay, so just take off the silver skin like I said before using the tip of your knife. Comes off very easily. So we're going to turn this around and we're going to square off the sirloin side of the steak. You will see veins are running through here. This is basically different muscle groups. You can see the top sirloin. This is known as a vein steak, or you will see this as kind of like a little mini roast. Usually I'll put these in a stir fry, but I'm actually going to show you how they are all separated so you can just see the different muscle groups there. Just cut them off along the seam. Pretty easy to do. Just wherever you see a kind of vein seam, just cut straight down, and that will make sure you get all the nice lovely meat that's there. Now we're going to go along, trim this up, and this is all going to go into our burger grind. So we're going to have all different piles of meat, which I will show you shortly. So at this stage, I'm going to go through and work through all this trim. So I'm going to use that first steak that I cut off, which was from the ribeye end. That is a beautiful steak that you can just have even with steak and eggs. But I'm putting it into my very luxurious burgers. I'll work my way through these pieces and see what meat I can cut through, taking out any kind of sinew or cartilage. Now a piece here, for instance, there's a nice bit of meat underneath. I'm just going to angle the knife down, pull the sinew from side to side, and the meat will come off. I'll put this sinew aside, use that for tallow with the rest of the fat. Now we're going to move on to that fat cap. This is a beautiful piece of meat. You can even use a lot of this just for like kebabs. What I'll do is I'll go through, cut some nice chunks with a bit of fat because I want that in my burgers. Some of the fat, which looks like it's a bit too much, I'll cut that off and use that for tallow. Put that to a side. Go around the other side and trim it just like this as well. And just repeat the process. Go through, trim the fat, and just cut off all the meat bits and set it aside. So as I mentioned, I'm going to actually use this for burgers. So what I want to do is I want to weigh this out. So you can see I've got some nice lean pieces and some fatty pieces. I'm going to weigh this, write this down, and then I'll work out how much to put into my burgers. Now just check this all over. Make sure it's a nice, clean, squared off cut all the way around. Flip this over, and now you can trim off the fat if you like, but what I like to do is trim that off afterwards when I've cut the steaks, because some people like them fatty, some people don't, unless there's too much fat, because then it's coming off. So I'm going to cut from the sirloin side first. You'll see some veining in the steak right there. You can use these for stir fry or even cook them as well. You want the steak about an inch and a half thick, or thicker if you want. I like about this size because it gives me a nice amount of protein. I'll go through and I'll weigh each one. Now I'm getting to the center cut. These are the real nice juicy strip loins. Cut them just how you would normally as well. Make sure you weigh as you go. At this stage, I'm going to do a rough count to see how many more I can get. It's important to weigh them as you go because it helps you get consistency, and then you can kind of see if you need to make an adjustment on the next cut. These steaks are going to be phenomenal. So when I get towards the end, what I like to do is just weigh and see how much weight I've got left, and then I'll just divide that by 2. This was just shy of 16 ounces, so that will give me 2 nice steaks. Just notice a little bit of kind of sinew I want to cut off there, just no problem, just trim that off. Okay, and then we'll just cut this in half, and we've got 2 beautiful steaks. So this is a great way to save yourself a ton of money when you're having steaks, literally half the price in some cases. Look how many steaks we managed to cut from this beautiful strip loin, which was just over 3.5 kilo in weight. So we've got all this fat for tallow, which is beautiful. Then we've got all this for burger trim or stir-fry kebab, whatever we want to do. We're going to label this all up and put it into the freezer and put your beautiful New York strips in a fridge or freezer until you need them. Look at those babies. Okay, I'll see you on the next one.